Hello, everyone. My name is Fariba Parsa. I am the founder and president of Women's E-Learning E-Leadership. As a short, we say WELL organization. The WELL is a nonprofit organization in the state of Virginia in the USA. Our mission is to empower women in leadership skills and also women's grassroots organization. Our leadership courses are in Farsi language. Is for everyone if you want to know more about the WELL organization, you can visit our website. It is wellfordemocracy.org. And also you can subscribe our monthly news letter, and that the first number will come in end of April. We are also active in many social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also YouTube. And a YouTube channel, we have educational videos and also interviews with women leaders from all over the world. Some of our interviews are in Farsi with Iranian women. Today, we are honored to have an interview with Ms. Amina Mohammed, who is the founder and executive director for a nonprofit organization. It's called Cameras for Girls. She lives in Canada. I know Amina from Vital Voices. We both fellow at Vital Voices leadership courses. That was fantastic to get to know so many women leaders. So let me ask you, Amina, first, can you talk about yourself, your life, and why and how you started this nonprofit organization, Cameras for Girls? Thank you.
Thank you, Fariba, for inviting me to participate in today's episode with you on YouTube. Lovely to meet you all. So my name is Amina Mohammed. I am a Canadian. Have lived in Canada since 1972. And prior to that, I lived in Uganda. And we came to Canada when I was 3 years old as a refugee. After Idi Amin threw all the Indians out with 90 days notice. So it was quite a traumatic event. But I think that basically formed who I am today. I describe myself, obviously founder, executive director, Cameras for Girls, but I'm also an advocate for gender equality. And what does that really mean? It means that women should have the rights and the privileges to do, be, and say whatever they want to say, regardless of where they live, regardless of where they are in this world. And unfortunately, Fariba, you and I know that that's not happening in countries that let that finish. Sorry, can you hear that?
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Okay. That's not happening in many countries across the world, sadly, and that's why I'm doing this work. So I started Cameras for Girls in 2018. But before that, I was a filmmaker. I was working in the film and television industry here in Toronto for 15 years in various capacities, starting from wardrobe to producing my own work. And it was during my time in documentary filmmaking that I happened to get the opportunity to go back to Uganda to not only discover my roots, but to tell the story of so many Indians who had, been thrown out of the country of their birth and were going back to reclaim what had been stolen from the government. And it was on that trip that I recognized not just that poverty that was debilitating, but the challenges that women and girls had obtaining education. So if a family had money, they would educate their boys over their girls. And, predominantly families did not have money because education is not free in Africa. Specifically, I'm speaking Uganda. It's a privilege, not a right. And I believe strongly that if education was a right and not a privilege, this world would look entirely different. So I saw these young girls, young as 14, and they were married off. And by the time they're in their mid-20s, they had 5, 6, 7 children that they could not clothe, educate, or feed, which, the cycle of poverty continues. And it made me angry. But I didn't know how to take my life as it was in Canada, working in film and television, and marry it with what I envisioned I could do in this country to make things better. And it took me another 10 years to figure that out. And I came up with the idea of Cameras for Girls. And what we do is we teach girls who are, striving to get into the male dominated media sector because their voices are not heard, they're not wanted. They're told that, well, you can go to school for media or journalism or whatever it is, but you can't get a job because you don't own a camera and you don't know how to use one and you don't know how to tell story and we don't want to hear it. So my idea was to give a girl a camera to keep, so that cuts that gender-based barrier out, then teach her how to effectively use it, coupled with storytelling and business skills to make her a triple threat and help her get jobs. And so we've been active in Uganda since 2018. We've taught 64 young women, and over 75% of them now have full-time jobs in something media related, whether that be journalism, photojournalism, their own photography businesses. Some are writing consultants, some work in communications and PR, and some work in digital media. And so we meet the girls where their goals are at, and by giving them a comprehensive training. And last year we were able to expand to Tanzania last November, and we will be expanding to Kenya in 2025, and so on and so on. So that's our small story. And I'm sure you have further questions related to what I was speaking about.
And fantastic. Is it a limit of age? Is it just a group of?
Yeah, we try to work with, so we recruit our students from university partners because they need to have some grounding in journalism or storytelling, because we cannot take somebody who doesn't have any experience and over a year turn her into a journalism. So she has to have some kind of basis. And then from there, because they are theoretical in nature, their programs, we work with them to upskill them in all these things that they're missing. But we want girls who are between the age of 19 to 29. And it's broad because some of them are in their second or third year or fourth year of studies, and some have graduated and still have not been able to find work. So we gear to a broad section.
These courses or training, can you explain about the courses, which
Yeah,
training
yeah.
is through
So
these?
it's a 4-phase program. We call it our 4-phase program. And phase one starts with a 4-day workshop in the country. And this does two things. Number one, we give them the camera. And over the first 3 days, we work with them to teach them how to operate that camera. And by the third day, they're making photos that, are incredible because they're learning about exposure triangle. They're learning about composition. They're learning about the proper way to manipulate that camera to get the image they want, exposure. And then on the fourth day, we work in the field, giving them a practical experience so that they can learn how to interview a subject or a person ethically. They learn how to interview them, ask them for their story, tell their story, collect photos, videos, all of that, so that they can compile it for their first piece in their portfolio. But this also allows them and me to break that cultural divide. So I might be from Africa, but I grew up in Canada. And so I cannot walk into a country and, as for lack of a better term, white savior here to save them, because they're not going to accept that. So it helps us bridge that barrier, that gap, learn about each other's cultures, and break through some of those initial, pieces of getting to know me, I'm getting to know them. The phase two starts immediately after when I get back to Canada, and we go completely online. I teach every Friday. something about photography, storytelling, or business. But otherwise, they have a purpose-built video library where they can learn, beginner to advanced photography concepts, storytelling. It's all and business concepts like, building a resume or a LinkedIn profile or a business plan. So we're constantly adding to this video-based platform. Then they also have to be sending me bi-weekly photos for review because I want to see them improving over time. It doesn't help to give somebody a camera and not have them practice with it. And then monthly assignments where they are continuing to build that portfolio, but expand on photography and storytelling. And then phase 3, we dive right back into business staring. And now we believe that you cannot learn something skills based and not marry it with business skills, because we have seen in Africa, school does not cover these concepts. Simple things like how to build a resume, how to write effectively, and grammar and spelling. And we've been teaching them about ChatGPT and Grammarly, and then we use AI tools. Then we're also teaching them how to build a robust LinkedIn profile and also to use that to network, not just in Africa, but across the globe. It's, the world is your oyster. You just have to know how to use it. And then to write and share relevant articles that they're writing, because what they're trying to do is build their status not only in a physical portfolio, but online portfolio. And then phase 4 is mentoring. So we can give girl all the skills that she requires, but if it doesn't have a one-on-one mentor over 6 months to say to her, okay, where are you in your journey? Where is it you are now? And where do you want to go? Let's make a roadmap to get you there. She's not going to be successful at the end to get a job. And because we've thrown in this mentorship, that has been, I think, the secret sauce to the success, because we get mentors who are in their field of expertise or who are in their, the field that they want to enter, whether journalism, photojournalism, communications, and carry them through. So it's a full year-long program, and it's very demanding. And I ask them a lot, but everything is for free. And if they want to have a camera, it doesn't mean that it sits there on a shelf collecting dust. It means that they have to earn it. So, and we've seen the success because they're getting jobs.
That is fantastic that you can provide this 1 year courses training and for free. So what is as challenging for many women's organization is finance. We
Yeah.
want to uh, give courses. Also, the Well organization really love to mentoring and give training, but um, many organizations challenging with finance. So we
Yes.
give our own time and money. But what is your, can you share your experiences, how we can create some very stable, solid, strong nonprofit organization that we can continue year after year, and we have get the finance or the money and support that we need?
So I won't say that we're there, you're never there, but what I started doing early on, so we've been in operation since 2018, but only registered as a charity since September 2021. And so only after being registered could I go after, foundation grants or government, which we can't get, or, individual donations. But what I looked at was a very varied approach to fundraising. Some people say, okay, well, I'm only going to go after individual donors. And there's a mistake in doing that, because individual donors can change their mind. If you don't do something they like, they might say, oh, well, I'm not funding you anymore. I'm going to go and fund this person over here. Relying on individual donations is not sustainability funding, right? You need bigger funding. We looked at government funding, and because we are a small organization, we can't get that. So then I looked at it and I said, okay, so in Canada, what are all the available ways that I can raise funding? There's individual funding, There's family foundations, there's, corporate foundations, there's grants that come from different bodies. There's we call something called donor advised funds or securities. Some people do crypto. In the US, you can do crypto currency. Um, and if you're African or if you're in an international organization, it's different how you can raise funds. But my thing is you have to look at a varied approach, because right now the economy is tanked and many people are struggling with this high interest rates that we're having and high inflation to continue to fund their charities that they love, right? And so I've had two recent donors who have gone into hardship and written to me and said, I'm sorry, but I have to cancel our monthly donation. And for a small charity, that really hurts. But if I was to only rely on one source, that would be, damaging. But I can mitigate by doing a fundraiser every quarter or every year. We do every year because it's too much to go, you know, every quarter and do a fundraiser. Your donors are going to get tired of you. And um, we also do a lot of grant writing. Like I'm constantly grant writing. I'll get off of this call and I'm going to be diving into like writing a grant that I have to get ready by next Wednesday. So it's constantly looking for opportunities. And I'm a big sharer. I love researching grant opportunities or foundational grants or whatever and sharing it with others. And I think if we were to come at fundraising with the mindset of abundance rather than scarcity, because you always are, if you're in scarcity mindset, you're always thinking, well, there's never enough and I can't share it with others because then there won't be anything for me. Versus, okay, well, this doesn't work for me, but maybe it works for somebody else, which is going to make the world a better place. Because if they can do their work because you recommended a grant they apply for, doesn't that make it better for all of us in the end?
Yeah.
So I think research is number one, and there's only enough time in the day, right? Like we're as the founder and executive director, I am doing marketing, I'm doing grant writing, I'm doing fundraising, I'm doing, like, there's so many things, and the training and all that stuff, too many things. So I hired a consultant, a fundraising consultant. They're called fractional fundraisers. So you might not be able to hire somebody full time, but maybe on a consultant basis. I hired somebody last year and I said, look, I need to know all the grants and all the ways that I can raise money, and I need you to do the research for me. So it cost me $2,000. She went to work and made me a whole spreadsheet of available funding. Now, not all of them worked, but maybe 50% of them were viable. And then I also asked her to write me a template for how to answer, questions that are always standard on every application. Because learning how to write a grant is half the battle in fundraising. It's not just the research, it's not just finding the grant, it's learning how to write grant speak. And I'm not a grant writer. So you need to work with somebody who is a professional. And I've done the same thing this year. I found somebody new and she's drilling down on finding all the grants that I need, but she's also helping me to refine the grant writing and how to structure it so that when you send in a grant, you have to remember what she told me is that they're not funding you for today or for the past, what you've done. They're funding you for the future, what you're going to do. So when you put that mindset to work, you are potentially more successful in finding grant money or even, funding than if you're constantly writing it from what you've done, trying to prove what you've done, not show them what you're capable of doing. So I think that's something to remember when it comes to fundraising. But it's never easy. I think it's the hardest part of my job.
Yeah.
And if somebody said to me, you're going to be spending 80% of your time or 75% of your time fundraising, I would have said, no thanks, pass. I'll do something else in my life, right? But you have to keep going.
Yeah. Um, in our search for funding, there are many grants, but we know that for one grant, maybe they get 400 applications. So
That's it. Yeah, you have to really step out, like stand
yeah.
out, and it's
But do
it's
you
how
have,
you write that grant.
so do you have any advice how we can stand out when we write or um,
I think it's answering the questions clearly and concisely, right? Some people ramble on in their answers. I was guilty of this when I started grant writing on my own. I would ramble on my answers, and then now when I go back to my previous grant applications, I'm like, ooh, what did I write? It doesn't even make sense to me. So write your grant and then send it to somebody who is a grant writer. Pay them if you have to, but have them rewrite it concisely and clearly so that the person on the other end understands what your goal is. Because if you're going to ramble on in your answers, rambling means you're not being clear and you only have one, shot at the can. You only have one chance to convince them, and it's in your opening summary. And if you cannot be clear and concise in that, you've lost all your opportunity for that grant or any other, because we tend to use the same answers in all of our grants. So the best money I spent was getting somebody to help me refine my grant.
yeah, that's a good advice. I will go back to this training for cameras for girls. Is it open for anyone? For example, if Iranian women who want
So
to,
yeah, you and I have talked about this, right? We have our core program is based in Africa.
yeah,
Like our
yeah,
our mandate under Canadian Revenue Agency, where we're registered, is to only work in Africa. But because I built an online video-based learning platform, that means I can spread it around to women and girls across the world. Now, caveat being, it's only in English. So if they're Farsi speaking or if they're speaking another language, they need to be able to translate it on their own because we don't have the money for that and we don't have the capacity. But right now, we're working with an organization in Pakistan, and most of the women speak Urdu. So they're taking our videos and they're translating on their own so the women can learn. We have women who are coming from various organizations across Africa that are not part of our core program. We have women who are coming from Afghanistan who want to learn in the comfort of their own home because they have cell phones, they have internet, and now they can learn and build community with women across the world, right? So no, anybody's, we are open to anybody. And my thing is gender equality again, and opportunity for education. That when we reach out to women, regardless of where they are, but they have to have their own tools of a camera or a phone, we can open up the world, right, to education. We
that's
really can.
fantastic. And it's free. It means everyone.
Free. Yeah, they just have to have their own camera or their own phone or their own data, um, unless they're in our core program.
Yeah, fantastic. We will put your website and more explaining about your organization in the YouTube, so you can
Mhm.
people who are interested to connect with you and your organization, they can have this opportunity. Yeah, that's a great opportunity for so many Iranian women or women in our network.
Yes,
Thank you so much for giving
you're
your
welcome.
time. Thank
Thank you very much. It's really nice, and I'm amazed at what you're building here, Fariba, because I think when you can expand the voices of women across, just not in Iran but everywhere, and make that connection between women across the globe, it's a beautiful thing. So thank you for inviting me to be a part of it.
thank you. We have, we live in different countries, but many
Yep,
of our difficulties or challenges are very similar.
they
Doesn't
are.
matter,
Yeah.
Africa and Iran, Afghanistan, there are gender equality is everywhere. We all,
Yes. Yeah, it is. Let's join together to make a difference.
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.